Hey, Lucha Underground fans. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this week's episode, please go to fanstalklucha.com, click the big green button, and pledge a couple pesos our way. We release some bonus content to patrons only, as well as give you early access to the main FTW podcast and Fans Talk TNA. Every little bit will help, and spread the word. The more support we see come in, the more time we'll devote to sitting down to talk wrestling with you every single week. Now, it's time for Fans Talk Lucha, Episode 7. From the Fans Talk Wrestling family at fanstalkwrestling.com, this is Fans Talk Lucha. It's a weekly conversation about what's going on in the world of Lucha Underground by the only married wrestling podcast team in North America. This is Episode 7 and covers Lucha Underground Season 1, Episode 17, which aired on March 4th, 2015. My name is Garvin, and once again, I am joined tonight by mi esposa.
Hi.
Give it all you got.
Hi.
Fans Talk Lucha is a podcast series that is brought to you exclusively by the paid members of the FTW community. Some quick shout-outs before we begin. First, Diva Jill, Arctic Wolf 00, and Anyo 2015. Thank you guys so much for continuing the conversation through comments over on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube this week. We also brought comments back to the fanstalklucha.com website. Paul Jordan joined us over there as well, so thank you so much for that. Want to start off with a quick correction. Last week, it was pointed out that we missed some things, both from Paul Jordan and a few others on YouTube. We checked the results, and you guys were totally right. Somehow we missed the first minute of the show, which included a car scene that showed the mysterious woman in the trunk of a car. That same car was then shown at the end of the show, which we saw, except we must have turned the TV off too soon, and we walked away because we wanted to run up and record. You know, that's normally our process. We watch it, and then we run upstairs to the podcast studio, and then we start recording right away. So
we're easily distracted.
Yeah,
and
so
slightly incompetent.
So not sure how it took place, but we missed the first minute, and then we missed the last minute and a half, last 2 minutes. But we did get an opportunity to rewatch it. But yeah, we saw that the mysterious woman was in the car, and the trunk was pulled open, and it was the guy from the original episode. And he basically pulled her out of the trunk, but he said he asked the same question that he used to ask, I think, Prince Puma. I think it was Prince Puma in the original in the original scene or set of scenes that we saw in that first episode. But that was, what do you know about Lucha Libre, followed by Come With Me.
That seems like a really... I mean, if you want to know about Lucha Libre, why are you going to go to the trouble of duct taping and kidnapping someone? That just is a lot of work.
Well,
just go to lunch.
I definitely think the original time that he did it, which was he helped that guy fight off whoever he was fighting in like the alley. I think that was a better case. Like, hey, I helped you. Do you want to listen to me talk about Lucha Libre?
Do you know where he could find an audience for this? Is Craigslist. Craigslist.com, guys.
But just looking at that and now like rewatching that opening scene from the first episode, it's almost as if we're building towards like a Aztec traditionalist versus Cueto. Cueto basically went to AAA. He bought out the ability to use the AAA wrestlers in the United States. So, he's basically using the Aztec name backed by his money, but he's not using the same traditions, history that seemed to be important in that first episode.
He's the McDonald's of Lucha Libre.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like this is, we are now on the 17th episode of Lucha Underground. So this is a very long, drawn out story that I think we're finally starting to, get that next step of it. So
yeah. So thanks for pointing out that we didn't get the full picture, because otherwise we would have missed it completely.
Yeah. So we've got some more Matanza Cueto theories that we want to read. First comes from Diva Jill. She said, I have a theory about Matanza which fits with how they are bringing in the supernatural and how Cueto acts. Matanza isn't a man. He's a supernatural being. He feeds on pain and violence and strife. That's why Dario Cueto built his temple and filled it with physical competition. He keeps Matanza fed, and keeping him fed keeps him docile. So, and she also said, this is why I love Cueto. This is why Cueto is always so motivating. If the wrestlers become demotivated, the level of competition and violence lowers, and Matanza gets restless. And the last time Matanza broke loose was when he did whatever he did to get the mysterious woman on his trail that she wanted to kill him. So, So again, going with like why Cueto is trying to keep these wrestlers motivated.
He's such a great boss. Yeah. Anyone would be lucky to have him as a boss.
Yeah, and we've only seen really one conflict with that as far as like great competition, or pushing that competition for strife and whatnot. And I found that conflict in what we saw with this week, and that was Famous B and Ricky Mandel. They had their arms broken. There's no way that they can compete in any type of match because of that. Yet they were offered as competition for Alberta El Patron. So to me, I don't know, that tells me that I don't know. I find that as a conflict.
I felt like he dropped the ball a little in that segment, but that segment went on a little long to do what it was meant to do, which was set up the first match.
Yeah. So Arctic Wolf 00 says, I'd like to say your wife's theory about Cueto's shrewdness. If he acted as the truly evil person he was, then the luchadors would have no real reason to give their matches their all, since they'd know he only wants pain. But by acting as a supportive promoter, he ensures that every match will be painful and bring the best and worst out of them. So yeah, I think we're all on the same page for the most part.
Yeah, he's almost like their dad. Like, he's on their cases, but he just wants them to succeed.
Stepdad.
Yeah.
Okay, Arctic Wolf 00 also put in, and this is just a general conversation. He says, with that being said, to me, a lot of the story can be found in the subtleties of how it's presented. Just going back to Katrina and Mil Mascaras, he used to enter with this cape, which he would undo like it was a chain or a straitjacket that was holding him back. But last week, without her, and we also saw this week as well, he entered without it, almost signifying that he was free. Then there's Puma and Conan. Conan throws in the towel, which is something that Puma doesn't like, to which Conan responds, sticking to the plan and the art of war being based on deception, almost as if they planned to make Puma look weak against Cage from the start. Pentagon Jr., the commentators specifically state, Pentagon became darker and even questioned his sanity, something that's backed up by his actions in the ring. He goes from fighting for respect to almost worshiping this master like a god. And this is really something that's intriguing to me. I don't know about you, wife, but it's not something that we're used to seeing in wrestling, anywhere, any type of wrestling show. But I definitely completely agree. Knowing that Lucha Underground is built less like a standard wrestling show in the States to being more like a regular TV show, I almost want to go back, rewatch all of the episodes, look for all of these these subtleties that we've learned to ignore because of how like WWE and even TNA in some capacity tells their stories so differently. But just look for those subtleties and see what we missed. So maybe that's a special bonus episode once we reach episode 25.
Special conspiracy theory.
Yeah. So definitely interested in that. And then also, Anyo 2015, Arctic Wolf, both agreed with us liking Aerostar as much as we did last week. Arctic Wolf also suggested that Lucha Underground should bring more of the history into the story, like where he came from in AAA, how he was a creation of the late AAA founder Antonio Pena, and one of the last trained by the late Abismo Negro. So I totally agree with the idea of bringing that history in. That would definitely add something to him, because right now he's just a dude in a mask.
I agree, and I think whenever the writers allow that, it makes for a more interesting segment, it makes for a more memorable character, and it's certainly more fun than just listening to people smack talk.
Yeah, look at Alberta El Patron versus Tejano, Blue Demon versus Chavo. That really added to those stories to see the history between the two. So, yeah, I think if they can do it for them, they can definitely do it for Aerostar. All right, so let's run down what happened this week. Slow episode.
The pacing was very slow this week, and that I had some problems with it, but we can get to those in time.
Yeah, everything was spaced out a little bit differently. As far as quantity goes, there was a lot less that happened this show compared to the last few shows for sure. But we started off with backstage. Cueto is talking with Alberta El Patron. Patron wants his debut match tonight against Tejano, and Cueto offers him some other guys like Famous B, like Ricky Mandel. There was another name he threw out there, but regardless, Patron wanted nothing to do with it. He only wanted Tejano.
In a way, though, and we had said earlier that this felt a little false to us, but it's possible that what he was doing was just making Alberta really mad, because it's kind of like dealing with a 4-year-old. They want what they want, and when you tell them no, they get all worked up.
Yeah, well, sure, and it definitely goes with the whole theory of Cueto's motivations and what he's really trying to get out of this. So yeah, I totally agree. But the logic that he used in what he said to Patron, as far as, well, this is a huge match, and I would really appreciate the opportunity to build it and to publicize it.
I think it was the acting that felt a little false to me, not so much what he did. If he had been more smug about it, I could see maybe he'd be working him up, but he almost seemed apologetic, like, well, I got these other dudes, they kind of suck. But I just felt like the acting was a little off there. Usually I like a good office segment, but that one didn't do it.
Cueto is he's hard to really get into. I mean, it's hard to tell like where he is, because he's like this strong character. He acts very tough, but it seems like every single segment where he angers the person that he's talking to, he cowers, he backs down, and it's just kind of odd knowing what we think as far as this theory goes.
Well, if you're building up someone and you try to build their confidence, you would do that. He made Alberto feel like a big man because Alberto got what he wanted in the end, and then he went off and got his match. So that could have been a bluff on Cueto's part.
All right, the first match was Mil Muertes versus Phoenix, and Mil Muertes won. This was via pinfall, a really long match. I think it went probably a good 15 minutes, maybe 20-minute match. What did you think about it?
I expected more of this match. I really like watching Phoenix wrestle. I'm not a big fan of Mil's wrestling style, but usually he does a good, entertaining match. I felt like this match was a little punch-heavy, and as you all know, matches where people just punch at each other are boring to me. But
that's his style. I know he's a heavyweight. He's a brawler.
And I understand that, but usually the matches have a little more to capture my interest. This one, I even felt like Phoenix was holding back just a little.
Yeah, for sure. Because usually when you have a guy that's a brawler like this, he's going up against a guy like Phoenix, and Phoenix is usually flying around. And we did see some of that, but mostly it was close proximity. It was a brawl.
I feel like they did this on purpose, so I can't be too angry about it.
Oh, sure.
What I liked about it was at the very end, Katrina comes down, and she's got this stone of power, and she throws it into the ring, and Phoenix grabs it.
Well, she dropped it. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, Phoenix grabs it, and it's like it energizes him. So I feel like he was purposely holding back so that when he got this stone, it showed like it was a transfer of power to Phoenix, and suddenly he became incredible again. So while I was annoyed during the match thinking, what's going on with this show, I think they storylined it well. And that was actually one of the high points of the show for me, was Phoenix suddenly becoming this badass and almost turning, really. Like he wins, he takes over at the end, and he's got this confidence, and he wins the girl in the end. It's very exciting. It's a very soap opera.
Yeah, I saw that too. I really wasn't quick to add that to my notes because I wanted to see what happens next. Because, it was hard to tell if he was getting the energy from that stone or if it was like, hey, this is my one opportunity. So he, as far as to save Katrina, and, Mil Muertes had his back turned at the time. So, this is his one opportunity. So it was like an extra shot of Not testosterone.
Testosterone?
No,
adrenaline?
Adrenaline. There we go. An adrenaline shot to, attack Mil Muertes, because after he did that, he fell back down to the mat. So,
well, what I've learned in watching Lucha Underground is that it's very much driven by the announce table. Right. You don't have guys talking in ring very often. And so you have to go with what the announcers are saying. And the announcers were indicating that it was the stone that was giving the power. So sure. I'm going to trust that, knowing what I do about the show. I also have to give a big shout out to Mil and Katrina. They did a very impressive move. Not a wrestling move, but you ladies will understand. Katrina is wearing this kind of 90s bustier strapless, and Mil grabs her by the neck and hauls her over the top ring. That bustier did not move. That was impressive. I don't know how they did that. I don't know if they glued it on her. I don't know if it was painted on her, but she kept her dignity intact. Good show.
Yeah, and again, I guess this goes to, you know, the little subtleties and what they mean, and maybe this is something that I'm used to just overlooking. You picked up on it, so yeah. Again, let's see how it progresses as we move forward. Maybe that rock does hold, you know, some kind of power, not just for Mil, but for anyone who holds it.
I wonder if it's really a rock, just like it from a prop
It was pretty
standpoint.
shiny.
Or, yeah, if it's like a Brillo pad that they've spray painted black. Because they did pitch it pretty hard, and there's always a chance something could go wrong that could hit an announcer, an audience member, or something.
The big move in this match that I really appreciated was like that running top rope reverse. I'm not even sure how to explain it. I think my notes were just a top rope knees to the face. It was like a reverse backstabber. So basically, Phoenix is on the top rope. Mil Muertes, I've never seen him do anything like this before, but he ran up to the top rope and sprung up and hit Phoenix right in the face with. Well, I'm sorry, he grabbed him and pulled him down so that, you know, his knees hit Phoenix's face, and it was incredible, almost impossible that there was no injuries there, but obviously they pulled it off pretty nicely. So
Good stunt work.
We also saw a video package of Conan. So, you know, basically Conan's revenge. Normally what they push is like, you know, the wrestler that is going through whatever he's going through. So you would normally see like Puma and what Puma's doing to get back. So like Puma's revenge should have been the focus in most cases, but today it was Conan. It was all bringing the art of war, you know, phraseology into it as far as the deception, you know, decepting your opponents to make them think that you're weak, but really
Decepting?
You're strong. What did I say?
Decepting? That's not a word. Deceiving?
Deceiving? Deception. What's the word?
When
that
you're
goes with
practicing deception, you deceive.
Oh.
We're not just your only married Lucha podcast. We're also your Lessons in Basic English
Thank you.
podcast.
All right. Whatever. Backstage, Ivelisse says that she should be the number one contender because she beat Angelico. That's absurd. Cueto agreed. Basically said, no, you really haven't earned anything, but, you know, let's instead do another match next week. So we're going to get Ivelisse versus Angelico with Son of Havoc as the guest referee.
This was a great segment for me. I agreed. I thought it was absurd that she wins one match and suddenly she thinks she's earned this contendership. We know from watching this show that he likes to build up to his contenderships.
Right.
You don't get a contendership. You get a match that leads up to a contendership match, and then you get the contendership. So I really appreciated that scene. I also appreciated Angelico in the background was doing some amazing teenage-style eye rolls. It was glorious, especially because, you know, this guy's supposed to be from South Africa. It was a cross-cultural thing. I felt like he and I were twinsies at that moment. I also liked the way at the end she leads Son of Havoc out of the room by his beard.
Which is, like, completely disrespectful.
I think we all know at this point the beard equals balls.
Yeah, no.
So I like what they're doing
do
with this storyline. You know, in one hand you've got Mil kind of tossing Katrina around, and in this case you've got Ivelisse pulling her guy around by his beard. It's genderific. It doesn't matter. It's partners being terrible to their partners.
But there's another way. You don't have to tug on the beard like that.
He really had nothing else to tug on.
Back of his mask, his ear.
Isn't that more...
You know.
Okay, isn't it more disrespectful in the lucha world to tug on someone's mask than on their beard?
Suggesting you're going to pull off the mask is disrespectful. But, you know, just grabbing a hold of that. I'm just saying, you know, there's other things. Don't touch the beard. All right, also backstage. Also backstage, we got Alberta El Patron interrupting Pumas workout, and basically pep talked him before he then made the announcement that after he defeats Tejano, he's going to come after the Lucha Underground Championship. That was it.
I really appreciated that Alberto was wearing a t-shirt with his own face on it. It was very much like when you're watching Jackass and Steve-O turns around and he's got his own face tattooed on his back.
Yeah.
They're making him a little cheesy in this, winking at the camera and the swagger, and I thought the t-shirt was a nice touch. It just added to that.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. What bothers me about segments like this, because this seems to be a trademark segment now for Lucha Underground, where they've got a wrestler working out in the back, so he's going through the motions and hitting, your whatever those are called, punching bags, that thing. Anyways, Puma wasn't even in the match this week. Like, he wasn't even competing, so why is he even there? Like, there's no, like, we need some continuing. I'm not good with words tonight. Consistency. There we go. Let's do it that one.
Well, I think they want us to know that they haven't forgotten about his storyline.
But that was this event.
This was now his second segment too. He is not in any matches, but he is in 2 segments tonight.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought it was weird to have Puma there when he's not even wrestling, and he's working out as if he's prepping for his match later on tonight, even though he's not going to have a match. I just thought it was weird. But
he probably uses the gym because it's free. Yeah. I mean, gyms in LA cost a lot of money.
Sure, and wrestlers, I guess, do have to work out like every day to keep their
otherwise
their
they look like
up.
us.
Yeah.
So
I look okay. I lost a pound this week. Thank you. All right, Big Rick versus Sexy Star. I thought it was disappointing.
I didn't. I liked it I liked it for a variety of reasons. You all know that I don't like Big Rick. I don't like the way he wrestles. It's boring. He lumbers around. I don't like that. I really like this match because I got the impression that he didn't really want to wrestle Sexy Star. They both want the same thing. And I think I just like him better when he's not wrestling. I dislike his wrestling so much that the fact that he stood there for the whole match and then just gently pinned her, I thought it was amusing. I also think it shows that he didn't really want to hurt her. He doesn't want to fight her. He kind of let her tire herself out. And then he still gave her a good pin. It wasn't like he just knocked her over like he could have done. He gave her the respect of an impressive lift and a good pin there. I liked it. I think it said a lot for his character, and it showed that he doesn't want to fight her. And again, I just like him better when he's not wrestling.
I don't know. The thing is that for the last 3 weeks, for sure, the whole gender equality issue keeps getting brought up. But every match where it's like Sexy Star versus Big Rick or Ivelisse versus Angelico, there's definitely that tension where the guy does not want anything to do with the match and almost just toys with it. So it's like a cat and mouse game, except for the cat has no interest in even being a part of it.
Well, I think in this case we have to look past gender and look at the practicalities of it. They're 2 completely different wrestlers. Big Rick can't keep up with Sexy Star's athletic wrestling style, and strength-wise, she's just not going to compete with Big Rick.
Yeah,
so
but we didn't even get to see it. We didn't get to see what she could do in the ring. It was very brief, and she kicked him a few times, but for the most part, he just grabbed her and put her shoulders on the mat and pinned her, and it was it.
They're not ready for it. She didn't even want to fight him. Neither of them wanted to fight each other. In the last show that we watched, they both wanted to fight the crew. Neither of them wanted to fight each other. They didn't want this. I was okay with it.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, just thinking about it again, what was the point of the match? What were the motivations? Their motivations were not to fight each other. The motivations were to earn the opportunity to go against that common enemy, which is the crew. So
and
yeah,
I guess I could see it. They had to have a match. He didn't want to do anything that would damage her further if she had to wrestle again. I thought it was okay. I mean, it probably annoyed her. It was funny to watch. She did look a little silly, but
yeah,
it was. I liked it. I thought it added something to their characters.
All right, so post-match, we did get the crew come out, and they attacked both Sexy Star and Big Rick, but Big Rick ended up, being able to overcome that, pulled off his eye patch, as if to say, that he's,
pretending
tough.
That he needs to wear an eye patch.
Well, yeah, he was, that he's tough, that he can handle the pain. He kept holding his eyes, so you couldn't really see, the scars or anything like that. So, but
and
yeah,
Sexy Star got a chance to really wrestle too,
right,
so she's still got what she wanted. I think if they hadn't done that, it might have been a little disrespectful, but she still got to wrestle, so I was okay with it.
All right, final match, your main event, really the final thing that happened on the show. Well, I'm sorry, there was one more segment, but we got Alberta El Patron, who is your AAA Mega Champion, versus Tejano, Your thoughts on this match?
I thought this match was disappointing. I had remarked when we were watching it, whenever we've seen these two paired up, there's always a lot of energy and it's fast and it's exciting. And when they turned it into a main match, it felt like they had to stretch it to fill this unusually large time slot because this episode did have shorter segments and fewer matches. Because of that, I felt like it was a little tedious. And it really didn't pick up until the very end for me, so it was kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, this show was definitely a different balance than what we're used to. What we're used to is, I mean, you might have a heavyweight versus a smaller guy. So you might have like Mil Muertes versus Phoenix, but the rest of the matches are evenly matched Lucha Libre style guys. So to have a night of mainly heavyweights.
Brawlers.
Yeah, so like Big Rick. Then you also had Mil Muertes in the beginning, and that was the main focus of those two matches. And then the main focus of this was two heavyweights, two brawlers going at it. It was odd. It was an odd feeling. It didn't pack the same energy that we're used to, which, you know, for you, I can see why it's kind of tough to follow because it's slow, it's methodical. They're going for submissions.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't a good match and that they didn't do a good job, but I had a hard time following it because it's not to my taste.
Yeah.
So,
but from a technical aspect, I thought the match was very good. I was kind of surprised with the ending that instead of, you know, because Alberta El Patron basically had the match in his control. He could have went for the submission and got the win. Instead, he went for the bull rope because the bull rope was brought into the match by Tejano, and he used it against him. So, yeah, that got the crowd involved. I think it made everyone kind of happy with what things were going. But, you know, from a logistical standpoint, Alberta El Patron made it clear in that opening, you know, or no, I'm sorry, not the opening segment, but the earlier segment with Puma, where he said, after this match, I'm going after the title. You know, this seemed to be counterintuitive to that it was, you know, him just taking out Tejano, but they're going to have another match now, you know, to find out if Alberta El Patron can defeat Tejano.
yeah, and I hope it's a better paced match. What I did like about this match was at the very end when he grabs the rope and he did a this must have been terrifying to practice. So he's got Tejano spread out on the mat, and he is just, it looks like he's flogging him with the rope, but you can see that the business end, which is taped up, is hitting the mat. So it's making this terrific, loud, banging noise. And even though we can see it's not actually striking Tejano, it looks and sounds terrifying and impressive. It's a really good looking move. Props to them for not accidentally hurting each other because it looked and sounded great.
Right. All right, the final segment was Cueto talking to King Cuerno. King Cuerno was wearing a cowboy hat.
For some odd reason. I don't know why he'd leave the deer hat at home. It's so stylish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just his ring entrance hat.
That's his going out hat.
This is his regular
his
casual hat. So, and basically Cueto booked Cuerno versus Johnny Mundo in a cage match for next week.
Now, when he says cage match, what does he mean? Does he mean that they're going to be inside a cage? Boring. Or does it mean that somehow Cage is also going to be in this match, in which case, awesome?
Yeah.
Be specific, dude.
Talking about the subtleties, you almost want to think that Cage is involved.
Yeah. It's a little play on word, because we all know that Cage isn't a man, he's a cage.
Well, and a machine. Maybe it's a machine match. I don't know.
Maybe he... You know, I have this theory that he's a transformer. Maybe he transforms into an actual cage. I would watch that.
Okay. Best part of the night?
Probably that moment when Phoenix grabs the stone and it lights a fire under his ass. I think that was my favorite. Right. That was my win.
My favorite part of the night, my win would go to just the fact that the crowd made a concerted effort to be quiet during certain parts. So while they were, you know, cheering for whoever they like, there were moments when that they would quiet themselves to hear the impact of a move. You know, you see this every once in a while with chops, you know, so that you can hear the impact of a hand hitting someone's chest. But this was just like slams or anything. It was like just a concerted effort. As soon as the guy went up, everyone, went silent. And then you just heard the impact of the guy hitting the mat. I thought it was very cool. So I don't know if that was planned, if the fans got together before the show and said, "Hey, you know, we're gonna do this." But
maybe
it was pretty
they got
cool.
some kind of wrangler holding up a shh sign or something.
Yeah. Fails of the week. What was the worst part that happened?
The pacing of the final match. It really was not interesting to me until that last 2 or 3 minutes.
All right. Yeah, for me, balance. I think is a good thing that we like. We like to see the balance of different things happening. But for me, I wanted to see more from Sexy Star. I understand, after talking about it here tonight. I mean, I understand why they might not have went in that direction. But last week we're so excited because we're like, oh, maybe they are building up Sexy Star to be a title contender. And then this made her feel weak. This made her less logical to go into that main event slot. Because if a Big Rick can just totally control her without beating her down or anything like that, the same thing could be said for a guy like Cage, who seems to be in line for that title.
Except that Cage has more of a similar wrestling style because we've seen from him that he is fast and athletic. So I think there's still a chance. I think there are a couple different ways we could go with it.
All right, next week we've got The Crew versus Big Rick, Ivelisse versus Angelico, with Son of Havoc as your guest referee, King Cuerno versus Johnny Mundo in a steel cage match, and maybe Puma versus Cage in that title match. We'll see. What are you most looking forward to next week?
I don't know. I'm just looking forward to all of it, to being entertained.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds like a good answer to me. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Nope.
Okay. Don't forget, you can become a paid member of the FTW community by going to fanstalklucha.com and clicking the big green button. Not only do you get early access to content just like this, but you can also select to receive bonus content that's exclusive to patrons. Last week, we released about 30 minutes of additional content to our supporters, and it's all because of you. So thank you. Thank you for listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, or however you listen. If you listen through a service that lets you leave ratings and reviews like Stitcher or iTunes, please give us all the hearts and let people know that they should add us to the podcast queue. If you're on YouTube, leave a like. And when you watch next week's Lucha Underground, make sure to mention us in your conversations on Twitter, G+, and Facebook. We want to hear your reactions. See you guys next time here on Fans Talk Lucha.